Henry Smith.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, thank you very much indeed, and it is wonderful to see you deservedly back in your place. Can I pay tribute to that excellent maiden speech made by my honourable friend, the member for Delyn, and I'm afraid my Welsh ancestors would view me very dimly that I can't respond in Welsh, but I will try better in future. Can I also, Mr. Deputy Speaker, pay tribute to all honourable members who have made their maiden speeches today. It really has been a tour de force from the constituencies around this great United Kingdom, and to hear the passion of newly elected members speak about their communities is something that fills me with great joy here in this wonderful place, the House of Commons. I think it's very important, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that the main debate on the Queen's speech starts with Britain's place in the world, because we are at a pivotal moment, of course, in our national history. 3.5 years ago, the people of this country voted clearly and very decisively in my constituency to leave the European Union. And it has been appalling to see attempts by the previous Parliament to frustrate that democratic decision. It's now 2 general elections later that we have the decisive majority that the British people had to express themselves 3 times over before the political establishment finally got the message that the British people want us to leave the European Union. And therefore it really does, I think, throw into sharp relief the importance of our looking outwards into the world. Not being Little England or a small island nation, but global Britain. That is very much where the great strength of our past history has been, and I think where the strength and our future prosperity lies. This country has unique global links, more than any other nation on earth. Our history with the Commonwealth has been mentioned and referenced many times before in this debate, is part of that. The strength of the English language around the world, the strength of our common law system, the respect that this country is held in, is something that I think puts us in a very good position for the future. We can really use those unique global links that we have by being a conduit, a bridge between that and our proximity to the continent of Europe. Mention has also been made by honourable and right honourable members, Mr. Deputy Speaker, of the importance of future trade agreements, not only with the European Union, but with the United States, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, other nations, and the rest of the Commonwealth as well, and that is very important. As an island trading nation, we rely on that global transportation, and we are, in the world, the second aviation power behind the United States. And therefore, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'd like to make an early bid for the budget that we reduce air passenger duty. This country charges the highest air passenger duty of any major development nation in the world. Only Chad charges more, and many of our European competitors don't charge any air passenger duty at all. I believe as we are looking to trade globally, we need to address that element. In the previous Parliament, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I was proud to be a member of the International Development Committee. And again, much has been made by previous comments about our 0.7% gross national income commitment. I do believe, though, we need to be using that international aid budget in a much more smart way. Not only to respond, as rightly we should, as a responsible nation, to natural disasters and dealing with the consequences of conflicts around the world, to help the poorest and most marginalised, but also in the interests of ensuring that Britain's influence around the world is increased in terms of our security, in terms of our trade, and in terms of the clear commitment that this country has given to ensuring we play our part in climate change. And I again pay tribute to the Conservative government for being the first major economy in the world to commit to net zero carbon by 2050. That is something that I think we should very firmly promote. My honourable friend, the member for Romford, mentioned the British Overseas Territories. All too often, as he correctly pointed out, in our recent history, they have been an afterthought or even forgotten. And it's important that that British family, as he correctly termed those overseas territories, have respect paid to them. They are loyal to this country and they deserve our proper attention. There's one British overseas territory that I'd like to briefly mention, the Chagos Islands, the British Indian Ocean territory. I perhaps have the largest population of Chagos Islanders anywhere in the world. They were appallingly exiled from their homeland by the Harold Wilson administration in the late 1960s and early 1970s. And I believe, Mr. Deputy Speaker, they should have a right of return. However, what I think is clear, in February last year, the International Court came to a judgment that the islands should be handed to Mauritius. I think we should reject that. The majority of Chagos Islanders, certainly that I know and speak of, despite their treatment of this country, cherish the support of British sovereignty, and that judgment by the International Court is one I don't think that we should be paying heed to. It is quite clear to me that the Chagos Islanders are British, of course.
Could I thank my honourable friend for Crawley for everything he's saying about the Chagosians and for his incredible work on the all-party group for the Chagos Islands, and to ask him, would he agree with me that if we as a government uphold the right of self-determination for Gibraltar and the Falkland Islands and the people of all British territories, why should the Chagosians be treated differently?
Well, my honourable friend is entirely right. Self-determination. As a democracy, we've been talking about our own self-determination to leave the European Union and how people were seeking to thwart that. We believe in self-determination as a country for ourselves and also for other peoples around the world. And it is absolutely right that just like every other British overseas territory, the people of the Chagos Islands should be able to decide their own future, not an international court seeking to pass and hand down judgments. For far too long, they have been ignored, and he is absolutely right that it is their territory, it is for them to decide their own future, and I think they will correctly, if given that choice, choose to be part of the British family. Just in conclusion, because I know there are other honourable and right honourable members who want to speak before the final closing remarks from the front benches, I want to mention our overseas territories and the important role that Britain is playing and can play in terms of promoting environmental sustainability. We are responsible with our overseas territories for millions of square miles of ocean around the world, and I commend this Conservative government for the Blue Belt programme around many of our British overseas territories that we have initiated, which is actually providing marine conservation around the world and playing an important role in that. That is Britain at its best. Outward-looking, ambitious, free trading, promoting liberty, promoting the environment, and promoting justice around the world. Doing so as a responsible global state. And I think the best years of Britain as a global nation are ahead of it, and I am grateful that it is a key policy of this government.
John Howell.